Hi there, traders. This is Brad Gilbert with the weekly kickoff. All right, now let's just have a look at the news over the weekend that's going to impact the markets. Now, that French snap election is really starting to get a bit more airtime, whether that's the news services struggling for other news, but it is sort of impacting the markets as well. We are seeing euro drift lower against the dollar and other crosses. The Canadian dollar, well, a rate cut is priced in on Canada. And what we are seeing, basically weakness on the Canadian dollar against most things, right? Sterling has had its best week against the euro in a year, and that's probably to be expected, right? With that French election, and we do have the Bank of England interest rate decision this week. Now, just having a look at what the dollar's doing against most of these majors, right? Stronger against the euro, sterling, Aussie, Kiwi, right? So on an hourly perspective, it looks pretty uniform. Well, it does on the bottom ones, on the bottom pairs. Now, dollar CAD sort of drifting sideways. With oil rallying, you'd expect the Canadian dollar to appreciate, but the fact that the market is priced in a rate cut in Canada is really keeping dollar CAD pretty steady. Now, the carry trade, as far as dollar yen is concerned, sitting pat at this stage, no need to be selling. Dollar Swiss drifting to the downside as well, like a stronger Swiss there. And well, the dollar index slightly above, no surprise there. It's 58%, euro is 58% of the basket. Let's have a look at a daily perspective and just try and work out where things are. So then when we come back and look at the economic numbers, we can sort of piece together some trading opportunities. Now, euro dancing to the downside. I would say if we start to get some negative or more negative geopolitical news, then we might see a bit more of a bigger clean out on the downside. But at this stage, euro's sort of just broken down through 107, but no one really wants to go on with it, right? At this point. On the outside of, look at the mismatch here. So you got euro sort of breaking downside. When you're looking at, the other correlating pairs here, sterling, Aussie, Kiwi, if anything, they've sort of been just banging away topside. And that sort of goes with that weaker US CPI number. Then you've got the Fed overlaying that, saying they're on hold for the moment and they're watching inflation and employment. So the US numbers are active. There's no sort of clear trend at this point. While the dollar's trading sort of mid-range, we do have dollar Swiss breaking down. I think you've got to be watching dollar Swiss. The carry trade, dollar yen, well, pays dividends to be long dollars there. And you can see here a bit of a stalemate on dollar CAD. It is just trading sideways. It's potentially going to break one way or the other, but with no clear conviction at this point. Now, let's just have a look at the week. If I just get up the trading economics calendar, it's a little bit easier to sort of piece out. Now, I've just highlighted the high impacting numbers here. Now, if you sort of look through the calendar, okay, there's a clear instrument that is sort of shining out. You've got the UK inflation numbers. You've got the UK or the Bank of England interest rate decision and UK retail sales figures. So, and on top of that, you got US retail sales and industrial production numbers on Tuesday. So sterling, okay, against the dollar has got to be on your radar, because this is where the trading activity is going to be centralized, especially once we hit Wednesday, the inflation numbers, hugely important, obviously, to all the central banks. So that's where my focus will be. And that Tuesday data there does give us a chance to sort of see, is retail sales similar to what we saw on the US CPI, which was just starting to show some weakness in the numbers. And that could really change the Fed's tone going into, over the next month, right? If we start to see weak US retail sales and then industrial production numbers, manufacturing numbers out of the US, well, the Fed have just said, well, we're on hold, but we're watching certain numbers. Well, we're going to start to see the dollar start to fall, right? That's, we've been waiting for it all year. But you know what? The US CPI weakness last week could be the telltale sign that the US economy is about to sort of flip over. Now, outside of that, Monday, Chinese numbers, important for the Aussie and Kiwi. You've got the RBA interest rate decision there on Tuesday. No change expected. So once again, and that's the same with the Bank of England. If there's no change of rates expected at these central bank meetings, you could get a very convoluted move, right? They'll talk about strength in the market. You see the instruments or the currencies rally. Then they'll talk about weakness. They fall. it's just a bit of a conundrum, right? Unless there's clear pressure on them to make a decision, I'd stay away from these events, maybe watch them, but outside of that, just be careful. Now, these balance of trade figures out of Japan, I wouldn't be watching those too closely. Building permits out of the US, I mean, that's a third tier number, not top tier. Worth looking at, but that's where we are. So to me, what you want to be doing is this week, really tune up your sterling charts, your sterling crosses, and really focus in on that, because, and don't forget the retail sales there, that's where you can sort of piece together where we might get some consistency across the moves. Now, just looking at sterling across a number of these instruments, let me just change the pen there. Okay, so sterling Aussie just grinding into a sideways movement, as it is with sterling Kiwi. A little bit of pressure on the downside there, potential for a breakdown. Euro sterling has already broken down. As we said, it's was the news report, strongest euro sterling in a year. Sterling CAD, sterling is outperforming the CAD. Once again, a rate cut priced in for the CAD makes it a little bit weaker than the others. Sterling Swiss, okay, the Swissy dominating there, and sterling yen, well, that's just cruising topside. So outside of these, you're trying to work out, okay, well, sterling, euro sterling looks like the easiest one to piece together, right? That the pressure on the euro from the potential elections coming up. And then you've got a bit of a mixed bag across the board here. Sterling Swiss, the other instrument there, which is sort of, well, definitely moving down, right? But doesn't look like anything standing out like a sore thumb. If I look at the euro crosses there as well, right? Euro sterling obviously breaking down. Euro CAD, well, euro wants to break down, but it's a battle here, because don't forget, we've got pretty good weakness across the board on the Canadian dollar. Does that follow through? Well, it's really going to be dependent on the economic numbers. Nothing really out of Canada this week. Not a huge amount out of the Eurozone. Now, Euro Swiss, right, down here, I tell you what, the Swiss will be getting, or the Swiss National Bank will be getting a little bit peeved off on the strength of the Swiss there, but we've got a good trend line. You got Euro Yen still cruising topside like all the yen crosses. Euro Kiwi looks like it's ready to go down, as does Euro Aussie, right? Strength in the Aussie in particular, or from these Chinese numbers, you get strength in the Aussie or Kiwi, we could see some further downside on those Euro crosses. All right, so global markets, how are we opening up this week? Well, just on the beginning of it, it's the Dow Jones futures are down, the NASDAQ sort of slightly up, so a bit of a mixed bag there. A bit of a mixed bag here on the majors. We are seeing commodities getting hit across the board. And those, you know what, US Treasury is a little bit lower as well. So this is the thing. I think where the US bonds are and where the major currencies are, I can see the dollar starting to roll over here already. Okay. But this is the thing, right? I'm sort of talking about a weak dollar just on the US Treasury sort of falling a bit. But we're fighting a weaker euro on the back of that geopolitical event, which is the upcoming French elections. So it's weakness on weakness. So you want to start really focusing on pairs where we do know what's going on, or where there is data coming out. And that's why I would emphasize sterling, right? Sterling, you've got to be in the game. Just have a look at it, right? Now, this may not be in your time zone. Well, that's well and good. Don't get out of bed and ruin your day by getting overtired. But that's where I think the major focus has got to be. You're looking at sterling against the obviously all the crosses. And if I come to the sterling on the hourlies, right, you're going to find a few more opportunities here. Might be short term. Let's see what the Bank of England's got to say on Thursday, and then we can start to piece together, trying to sort of just tap some cash into the account, right? These markets have been rather frustrating of late, and what we want to do is just sort of start to build some capital in your account, and you do that by focusing on, you know, daily charts, look for the bigger trends, or just short-term trading opportunities on your hourly charts. Now, when I say short-term, I don't want you sort of thinking, okay, we're looking at 10-minute charts or anything. We're looking at opportunities that may last for a day, 8, 12, 16 hours, and just tapping some cash into your account. But go through, do your analysis, right? And then you can start to work out where the pressure points are on these instruments, and we can really piece together some good trading opportunities. All right, so that's where we are. Outside of that, keep an eye on your news. Okay, that's all we can do at this point. The Euro Cup is kicked off. It's a huge event across Europe. Will be a bit of a distraction, but probably something good to watch whilst we wait for the good trading opportunities to pop up. All right, guys, that's it from me. That's the weekly kickoff. Sterling has got to be your main prime focus. Trading really starts on Tuesday with those US retail sales figures. All right, guys, have a good one. All the best. Cheerio.